and dating. Okay, just our personal opinions. And since Miss Douglas is an expert in an area, maybe she can give us some expert advice as well. Okay, so but moving right along, we were also in the month of Super Bowl. We had the Super Bowl on last week. Did you see the Super Bowl, Tameka?
I did not.
Okay, don't feel bad. I didn't
I
either.
didn't.
So I'm not much of a football fan, but I do enjoy the sport if I'm there. You see what I'm saying? Or if I'm
Absolutely.
happen to be around others that are looking at the sport, I try to enjoy it too. I try to engage in it. But Super Bowl is something very big here, and certainly the halftime show.
Yes.
Yes, the halftime show. Had you heard anything about the halftime show?
Oh,
At
I've
least.
heard a lot about the halftime show. And same here. If I'm somewhere, at a Super Bowl party at somebody's house or something like that, I will watch it. But it's not something that I'm kind of intentional about. I can take it or leave it, especially if my team isn't playing.
Right,
And I
right.
am a Cowboys fan.
Oh, she said she's a
So,
Cowboys fan.
yes,
I'm gonna give
yes,
her I'm gonna give her an applause on that
yes.
one.
So I did hear quite a bit about the halftime show, a lot of negative remarks and then some positive remarks. And so it kind of balanced out, but more so just remarks about what people thought about the halftime show in general.
Now I
Yeah.
did go back to look at the halftime show. Of course, I found it on YouTube, and I'm like you. I've heard mixed reactions on it. I thought Rihanna did okay. I thought she did well considering she was pregnant. I mean, and I don't think she had announced her pregnancy until after the show, or maybe during the show. A lot of people were like, "Oh, she looks pregnant." And so I thought for someone to be pregnant and to be able to still perform, that said a lot about her. You know, even though she was criticized about that as well. I've seen a lot of comments she shouldn't have been out there anyway. But I mean, if it's a form of exercise for you, and your doctor give you the thumbs up, which I'm pretty sure she probably checked with her doctor, that was okay for her to do. So, all right, Super Bowl, and as we know, I do believe it was Kansas City that took the win.
Yeah.
Is that right? Kansas City? All right. So congratulations to Kansas City
Yeah.
for that win on 2023 Super Bowl. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you what I was doing during the Super Bowl. Now, prior to the Super Bowl, but same day, I was planning to hit a Super Bowl party, but didn't make it. But prior to that, I did go to a Valentine's Day party that they were pretty much promoting small businesses, and it was
Nice.
such a joy to see so many young people within the ages of maybe 25, maybe some a little younger, 25 and maybe 35. They're promoting their own businesses, and I'm like, wow, like I said, at that age I wasn't even thinking about working for myself, but that was something very nice to see. I want to give a shout out to Miss Tatiana McCrae and Miss oh Lord, I don't forgot this child's name. Sorry. Monique Kaiser. Sorry, Monique. Tatiana McCrae of Tatiana Sugary Delights and Monique Kaiser of Monique Kaiser Photography. They coordinated this event down in the Aberdeen, North Carolina area, and they did a wonderful job. Several vendors out there. One of the young ladies that was there was a young lady that we had here on the show. And she was giving facials, and I mean, it was just a treat and a delight to see. So I just want to give those two young ladies a house applause for putting that event together well, very well organized. And I want to give a shout out to a young lady that I met there named Tammy. I do not have Tammy's last name, but Tammy and I were trying to figure out where we knew each other from. She said I looked very familiar, and then she realized that she said, "Oh, I watch your show." And I was like, "Okay, well, thank you, Tammy." So I want to give a shout out to her. And I'm going to tell you something unusual. One of her products that she had was popcorn laced alcohol. Now, I don't promote alcohol, but I thought that was interesting. Popcorn laced alcohol. It looked tasty. She was giving free samples, and I can't handle alcohol at all due to health conditions, but they look really tasty, and I got some great feedback on it, and I thought that was very innovative. Alcohol laced popcorn. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is outstanding, as you aforementioned, about the young people who are certainly promoting their businesses and out here just doing it. One of the things I love to see, I'm seeing a lot of young people from, in particular, my hometown, shout out to Moore County, who have businesses. And one thing I see is they promote each other as well. They
Yes.
promote the other business endeavor. And I think that's phenomenal.
Yes.
It's just a way to get their names out and their counterparts. So celebrating one another is so important, and I believe that reaping and sowing. So you celebrate someone else, somebody else is going to celebrate you. So as you mentioned, it is great to see what our young people are doing in their business endeavors and entrepreneurship and all of that. Outstanding.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So Valentine's Day, what did you do, Tameka? I'm curious.
On Valentine's Day, let me see. That was Tuesday, right?
Yes.
It was Tuesday. So on Valentine's Day, I worked. I ended up working kind of late that evening because I flexed my time in the morning. And so I worked a little late in the evening and then actually went out to dinner with someone later on in the evening. So that was my Valentine's Day. Went out to eat, had a great meal, and just enjoyed the evening. So that's what mine's entailed. It was a good day. And like you mentioned, for me, Valentine's Day is every day. I believe that you show love to people daily, care, show them that you care about them and you love them. I believe that we should do it every single day. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree on that. Well, I took myself up on one of the things that I suggested to do, and that was to get a pampering, which I did on that Sunday at the Valentine's Expo. I got a facial, and then on Tuesday I booked an appointment with my hairdresser, and that's where I was. Yes. And I want to say thank you to all of those that sent Valentine wishes to me. I tried to send them back. That was very kind and very special, and thank you. And like we said, love is every day,
Absolutely.
every day. We're to do love, show love every day. But as I said, Valentine's Day is just something people, have trouble with. And everybody is not into dating. That's fine if you're single. But we're looking for some dating advice, dating tips. And everybody has their own opinion or whatever. Dating can be great or it can be complicated, and my goal is to help it not be complicated, so that's what I hope to do for you here today. Just with some things I researched and what I looked up, and on the religious side. Now, there's different types of religions there. I'm a Christian. Tameka's a Christian. So we'd like to give you our point of views. I know that's something maybe Tameka doesn't like to talk about a lot, but I said, let's just do it and see what happens there. And, and go from there. But like we said, dating, it can be complicated or it can be something exceptional. I've learned that different religions they have certain boundaries or guidelines for people who commit to those religions, things that they should do. I've heard of things such as arranged marriages and arranged dating and things of that nature. How long should you date before becoming exclusive? How long should you date before becoming exclusive? Some people put a time frame on it, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, that type of thing. But we would welcome your suggestions as well as we get into this. You can call us at 919-899-9305, 919-899-9305. Okay. Tameka, let me start with you. What are your views on dating?
Well, what my views on dating is it depends on the person. I think that everybody knows where they are in life. You have some people, like you mentioned, that they could take it or leave it. I believe it has a lot to do with whether or not a person is content. You do have some individuals, like you mentioned, who struggle with things like Valentine's Day, struggle with times and season in their life where they are alone and they don't have a significant other. I think it certainly depends on where you are, what your beliefs are, of course. And I guess I have to kind of use myself for an example. And being a believer, for me, dating looks a lot different for someone that may not be a believer. For me, there are certain things I have to look at when it comes to actual dating someone in terms of being in a relationship versus dinner here or there, a movie, walk in the park or something. When it comes to dating, I have to certainly make an assessment of the individual to see if, in fact, for one, they are a believer, that they are like-minded because of my lifestyle, because of the fact that I am an evangelist and I'm in ministry. I have to certainly evaluate the situation to see if that is going to be compatible with someone. It would be to my detriment to date someone who isn't a believer, and then they have no involvement in ministry whatsoever, because then I'm going to be pulled in different directions. So for me, it's going to look a lot different from the next person in many cases. So again, my view on it is based on where you stand. I mean, for me, when it comes to a relationship right now, not being in I guess a formal relationship. I'm content. I'm content in life. I live a very fulfilled life, a very happy life. And until that right person comes along that will be compatible with my lifestyle, the things I like to do. I mean, of course, I'm an avid traveler. I love ministry. I love church. I love to be around family. So until I can get somebody that could at least be compatible in where I am in life, for me, dating is just not where I am at this season in my life.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I hope that answers your question.
Yes, okay. It does. Yeah. And that's with me. Now, I don't believe in dating unless you're actually, one, attracted to someone. There's a mutual attraction. And then two, you're working, already, you both understand that you've decided to date because you want more out of the relationship. You're going to work towards a marriage, because there's so many things, and I'm going to say too, like on a spiritual side, connecting, well, I don't want to go that route, but just on a spiritual side, I just believe you don't date at all unless you know for sure you're totally interested in each other to go further. And when I say further, I mean marriage. And then I'm one that don't believe in sex before marriage. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. And I mean, and we've touched on that before, but that's just where I'm at too. And so when choosing, or when someone approaches me to date or start dating, that's one of the things I'm like you. I'm looking for compatibility. Do you have the same beliefs that I have? If you don't, we don't need to go any further. But for me, the number one thing is attraction. Am I attracted to you? Are you attracted to me? I think that's just so, so very important. I looked up the definition of dating, and according to Wikipedia, it says this: dating is a stage of romantic relationships in which two engage in activity together, most often with the intent of evaluating each other's suitability and intimate relationships. So that was Wikipedia's definition of dating. And again, it deals with being romantic. And to me, when I think of romantic, you're thinking of just things that the exceptional things you do to please the other, that mate. So if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. I am P. Ross, and we're touching bases on dating today, and also we're going to be talking about aging later on in the show. I have the lovely Miss Tameka Douglas here with me. She is a social worker for Wake County, and she's also a national evangelist. All right, you're welcome to call in and join in on this chat at 919-899-9305. Feel free to call in with your opinions and your comments. Going back to dating, we talk about religious side to it. And when I researched this, the Bible doesn't really specifically mention dating. It doesn't bring up the word dating in there that I know of, but it gives principles for Christians to go by before marriage. And as we said earlier, both Tameka and I are Christians. Tameka, can you touch on some of those principles that the Bible speaks of as far as dating?
Absolutely. So one of the things, and when I mentioned in the beginning about being a believer and not being willing to compromise and date someone who is not a believer, the scripture, it says, what fellowship does light have with darkness? And you know, that basically is what fellowship does a person who is in the light, a person that is saved, have with someone that is not? Also, the scripture says, how can two walk together except they agree? So those are some of the principles we have to look at. And again, as believers, of course, we do not believe in premarital sex. So if you have someone that may believe in that manner that it's okay, then that's a principle that it would, in more cases than none, cause you to go against what your beliefs are.
Yes. Okay. Now, I believe that we are free to choose our mates or who we like, although I do not believe in same-sex relationships. That's just my belief. And I don't like it when men choose to date women that are like still in their teens and they're like 25. I'm so against those type of things. How do you feel about that, Tameka?
I believe that age does play in that when you make that decision about dating someone, a person that is in their teens, your brain is still developing, and you're dealing with somebody that's 25 years old. Now, back in that, believe it or not, I met someone just the other day who dated in that about that age range, and they ended up marrying their wife who is no longer with us, and they stayed together, and it worked out. This was, of course, years ago, and it worked for them, but I was like, I couldn't imagine letting my daughter being if she was 17 years old and dating somebody that's 25, 26. But again, it worked for them. I don't believe that there is much compatibility there based upon just the maturity level, the difference in lifestyles, experiences. So I don't agree with that. I think that you should try to get a little bit closer to the age range. Now, when the person is grown, now, if you're 25 and you decide to date somebody 45, then that's a little different. There is still going to be some challenges there. When it comes to the aging process in general, there are going to be some challenges.
Right.
However, there's a difference in looking at a person that's 17 years old and somebody that's 25, 26.
I have the same point of view as you. And I, too, have come across a few, not a whole lot, of people that, you know, surprisingly, they have dated or they married someone much younger than them. And I even remember a certain situation, I think when I was in high school, but the age difference wasn't so distant. There was a parent that approved of their child getting married, and the child was a female, I think while she was 15. And I think the gentleman may have been like 19 or 21 or maybe even 20, but the parents signed for them to go ahead and be married. And I thought, wow, you know, that was interesting. And then, too, I found in doing some research in my family, I saw that my great-grandfather was much older, like 20 years older than my great-grandmother. And I was like, wow, but they stayed together and they had like 11 children or 10 children. 10 children, and the grandmother lived to be in her 90s, and I think the grandfather close to 90. And I thought, wow, you know, they made it work. You know, was it peaches and cream for them? I don't know, but you know, they stayed together, you know. So, and I just want to say, no, I'm no expert on love or dating or marriage or anything like that, but I can say that I've experienced enough to see some of those red flags and things that I wouldn't do and would share with my friend. Don't do that, or you might want to think about this when you choose to date. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So there are 5 stages of dating that every relationship experiences. 1 is attraction, and we talked about that earlier. I think attraction is so important. Know that you are really, truly attracted to the person. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Just because one person feels that this person isn't, I think, first of all, I want to say, I think all of God's children are beautiful. I think every human on the earth is a beautiful creature, no matter how somebody else may see them. I just think everyone is beautiful in their own special way. But, to be attracted to a person, that's something totally different. I mean, it's like you just can't take your eyes off of them and you're mesmerized by them or whatever. I think that's an important factor in dating. Reality is another important thing that's, or is another stage that relationships go through. Commitment, intimacy, which we talked about a little bit before, and then engagement. So those are some of the stages of dating that every relationship experiences. What do you say to that, Tameka?
Yeah, I believe that list pretty much entails it. I do think that attraction plays a part. If you go in a relationship with somebody, you want to be able to look at them. So I believe that attraction does play a part in it. I don't think that, and I guess through maturity and getting up there in age, that can't be the sole thing that you look at, because you can get somebody that looks like a Greek god and they are just as sorry as ever, treat you like trash. So I don't think that there should be a whole lot of emphasis on that attraction part, just for that reason. And again, beauty is certainly in the eyes of the beholder. I'd much rather have somebody with a beautiful heart, and they can exude love and kindness if they aren't the most attractive person. So I think as we begin to age and mature, that we realize that shouldn't be the only thing that we look at. But I certainly agree with the other items that are listed.
Yeah, and I think something we should stop doing as people, and I mean, I have been guilty of it before, but some time ago, I taught myself, don't do that. We tend to look at, when we people watch, we tend to look at people, and especially people who are like dating, or there are couples like, I wouldn't think she would be with him, or he would be with her, or whatever. If they are happy, they are happy. And they probably got something more special than what you have. You know what I'm saying? So as we said, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, or whatever. And so healthy dating tips. Let's go to that. Healthy dating tips.
I believe that it's so necessary, and we have to kind of, I think, put that stuff in place in the beginning of the relationship, in discussing what we are looking for from that other person. We know that just in hearing from whether a person is married or in a long-term relationship, communication is so key. So I think it's so imperative that you talk to that individual about what you like, what you don't like, what upsets you. Do I like to eat out, or do I like to stay home and eat? Do I like to travel, or do I not? Do I like it when you say that to me? Do I like it when you touch me that way? I believe that that all plays a part in healthy relationships, communication being key, because you want to make sure that you're respecting that individual and they're respectful of you.
Tameka, what's your idea of a first date?
My idea of a first date could be a movie. I'm a movie buff. A movie. It could be a nice dinner somewhere, eating out. The park, a walk in the park, nature, being outside. That's pretty much my idea of a first date. Yeah.
Me getting to know the person. I know a movie is good, but you're not like really interacting with each other. But it's still good, long as somewhere in there, like over dinner, or like you said, in the walk at the park, you're talking and you're getting to know each other. You're learning each other. That's a good idea. Or some good ideas for a first date. Healthy dating tips. Focus on the present and not the past. That could be a killer for a first date, or just dating someone, initially dating someone. You're constantly talking about the past, or if it's a past relationship with someone that wasn't so good. As you mentioned earlier, talk about the future and what you want, what you expect, what you're looking for. Another tip is being attracted, which we said that earlier, being attracted to the person, though, inside and out. not only on the outside, you're attracted to who they are spiritually, mentally, on the inside. The sex talk, that is one of the things that was listed as a healthy dating tip when I did this research. Now, again, we're looking at religion here, or Christianity, I would say specifically. And Christianity, it says do not have sex prior to marriage. And so I guess you need to know that when you're dating that mate, even if it's, well, especially if it's someone that's not a Christian, if you choose to do that, and you want to talk about your sexual health. Do you have anything? You want to make that known up front. And I think you should let that be known in the beginning. I mean, it may be a hard subject to talk about, but I think you should disclose that in the beginning. Somewhere in the beginning, not maybe on the very first day, but the more you get to know the person, I think you should be able to talk about that. Meet each other's friends. But the flip side to that, and this is my own personal opinion, keep your friends out of your business, though. Yeah. That's what I say to that. I mean, it's nice to meet each other's friends, see the type of people they are hanging around, and that type of thing. And but keep them out of your business. Don't text an important conversation. Call them or meet them for that important conversation. Texting to me is not as personal. And some people may argue, well, you got it down for reference, but do you need that all the time? Especially when you're getting to know a person. I mean, I think just face to face or hearing that voice and hearing their tone, because in a text it can be mistaken. Their tone can be mistaken. So I think just hearing their voice or seeing them face to face is very important.
Truly.
Red flags are important, and they may not go away. So pay attention to the red flags. Tameka, in your opinion, what are some red flags to look out for when you're dating someone?
Oh my goodness. It's funny you should say that, and I'm glad you wanted to touch on that. I have people who are dear to me, many people who are dear to me that are married, some still married, some divorced, some separated. And red flags play such an important part. Mm-hmm. Red flags could be how they deal with their finances. Mm-hmm. It could be how they treat you and how they talk to you throughout that dating or courtship process. Mm-hmm. Their lifestyle, are they a planner? Are they a procrastinator? Do you see that in the beginning? Mm-hmm. Those are some red flags. Honesty versus dishonesty. Are they dishonest with you during that courtship process? Mm-hmm. Are you seeing certain signs that it's you and 3 other women in the dating process? Are you catching him in little slip ups, or her in little slip ups that isn't right, or things that you're observing and that hey, this may not be something that I would be pleased with if we become one and we get married. So I believe that those are certainly some red flags that you should look for, or red flags that are oftentimes exhibited in the beginning. And there are sometimes that we tend to overlook those things, and because we want to be married, or we think we need to be married. So those are just a few.
Now, here's a question for you. Can you date more than one person at one time?
I don't think that's wise. I know people do it. There are people who date, a couple of people at a time. Not mean they're necessarily intimate with the people, but they do have a couple of people that they go on dates with, per se. They may go to the movies with 2 or 3 guys or 2 or 3 girls at a time. And just kind of seeing who they like, or if they like certain traits in one that they don't like in the other. I don't think it's wise to do that. I think if you're focused on one person, and again, I'm speaking more so from a standpoint of dating to marry, because that's where I'm at in life. It's not, I'm not in my 20s anymore, even early 30s. I'm 45, so at this point I'm not trying to date 10 people to see who I like. If I'm going to call it a relationship or a courtship, it's going to be somebody I think could possibly be someone I would marry. So in dating in that manner, I don't think there should be more than one person during that time.
I agree with you on that one. I'm going to give that one a house applause. Because to me, I don't know. To me, it's almost like you're cheating. I don't even know how you can, because again, I'm one of these people that if I mean, I just don't really just go there. I mean, with anyone. And when I say go there, I don't do very much with a person that may have an interest in me and I'm not as interested in them. It's strictly a friendship. I don't want to throw off any bad vibes or signals or anything like that, you know, but, and get their hopes up or whatever. And vice versa. I wouldn't want anybody to do that to me. So, again, to me, dating, like you said, I think it's just for that goal of, okay, I'm ready to marry now. I want to find this guy or girl of my dreams, and let's see what we can make of it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And again, we're talking about a movie here or there with somebody versus we're serious, you know. Mm-hmm. So I don't want anybody to walk away thinking, oh, you don't take time to go to the movies or dinner. You can have, that's a difference to me. This is just somebody of maybe the opposite sex that you may go to the movies here or there with, walking or out to dinner. But we're not serious. It's not a situation where I'm thinking of this individual as being somebody that I would marry material. Right. I need the opposite sex to go with me to this party or to this wedding, and that's a difference. But when it comes to we're serious, we're in a relationship, we're one. There's a possibility we are not one yet, but there's a possibility that we will be one. In other words, we will get married. That's a different type of relationship. So.
Yeah, and those red flags, if you're not sure what we're saying, that gut feeling that you have, that uneasiness that you're picking up about the other person. Yeah. I mean, I remember going on a date one time, and I kind of researched the person. I had a cousin that knew the person, and I called that cousin, hey, can you tell me a little bit? Oh, yeah, he's a nice guy, so on and so on. But then once I was getting to know him, he said one thing and did one thing that just totally that was it for me. I was like, I don't even want to talk to you on the phone anymore. It's a wrap. We're done. Yeah. And that was one of the questions he asked me. So are you saying I can't be your friend? Well, at that point, I knew he had a deeper interest in me than I did him. And I said, yeah, I mean, we could be friends is how I left it. But then I just didn't even want to be friends anymore. I just was like, it's that red flag, that gut feeling. Yeah. And like I said, age too. I'm at the age now. Well, I'm well over my 50s. I'm 53. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with it anymore, So, yeah. Now, another healthy dating relationship tip is relationships are not 50-50. They are 100%. So it requires 100% from each person. And we often hear, what are you bringing to the table? That kind of thing. What do you think about that, Tameka?
Yeah, and more people are asking that question at this point. In talking to other singles, male and female singles, people are like, I was talking with a young man not long ago, and he said, I really had interest in this girl, and she was, like, well, what are you bringing to the table? What do you have? How much do you make? So that is, but I think it's a very appropriate question to ask, and that's again what we want to. What we see sometimes in the red flags. So you need to know what that person is bringing to the table. Now, I'm not saying it should be necessarily where, oh, he's just got to make more. She's that type thing and putting a bunch of demands. But you do want to know what somebody's bringing to the table, whether it's good stuff you bringing to the table or bad stuff. Are you bringing me a bunch of debt to the table? Are you bringing me a bunch of deductions from your paycheck for child support to the table? Amen. Are you bringing me bad credit to the table? So I think it's so important to know that. And I think we can bend on it some, but you do need to know that in the beginning. You need to know that. And that comes through communication and asking those questions and observing. And I'm going to say this from a Christian standpoint or just discernment. What you see, what are you feeling? Read the room. What are you seeing in this person? So I think that is so important.
Now, my belief is the man is the stronger vessel. And again, I'm not going to go into the same sex dating because I don't believe in that. That's just me. Don't come Absolutely. At me. That's just my personal belief. And it don't mean I don't love people that believe in that. Okay. So don't do that. So, but I'm just saying, I just believe the man being the stronger of the two. I don't see anything wrong with the woman being so the so-called help me. And it's not a form of weakness to me. I wish women would quit feeling that way. You're bringing 100% of what you know how to do to the table, far as, and it don't always mean cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and those type of things. It's just, being that 100% help meet, that backbone, that strength for the other person in the relationship. So that's just my point of view on it.
I agree.
If you've been listening to us, this is Chat City with P. Ross. I'm your host, P. Ross. I'm here with Miss Tameka Douglas, who is a social worker and national evangelist. We're touching on dating today. We're also talking about aging. We're talking about aging, the midlife crisis, and what to do with aging adults. Okay, you have an opportunity to call us at 919-899-9305. If you've been listening and you have your opinions on dating, we welcome your thoughts. Okay, aging, midlife crisis. Tameka, midlife crisis is defined as transition of identity and self-confidence that can occur in middle-aged individuals, ages 40 to 60. You're 45. I'm 53. Have you experienced any of a midlife crisis that you know of? Any hints of it?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I don't believe I have either, but then sometimes I'm like, am I going through a midlife crisis when I'm thinking this way, or this is happening to me, or that type of thing. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I chose this today. Because, again, the month of February is when we think of love because of the Valentine's Day season. And there's various kinds of love out there. And like we said, we should be loving on somebody every day, especially ourselves. Yeah. But when we think of Valentine's Day, we think of the Eros kind of love, or the Philia kind of love, which is the deep friendship kind of love, or the passionate kind of love that we show for one another. But I have a passion for older adults, aging adults. And I wanted to touch on that because just here recently I've been experiencing some things with older adults, including in my own family. So I'm, seeking guidance on how to do that and how to do it better. And want to help others who may have the same concerns or think the same way about that. So aging, starting with midlife crisis first. There are different stages to aging that I've learned. There's denial, fighting that you're getting older. Talk about that a little bit for us, Tameka.
Yeah, we do see that in individuals sometimes where they feel great, but they're getting older and other things are beginning to fail that they don't know is failing. And it's all part of the aging process. And I think when that happens, it's good to have people who are supportive around you, not necessarily to hurt your feelings or tell you, you're too old to be doing that. But just, being the support. And even if we have those individuals in our families or even within our family, close loved ones who are close to our families, I think it's important that we monitor it, but at the same time, let the person be themselves.
Right.
Let them be themselves. Give the advice in a respectful manner, but let them be themselves because, again, you're getting people who are, maybe they, just have good genes or they lived a healthy lifestyle. And so at 80, they may feel great, but yet you may see little things going on with their memory slipping, or perhaps, a little unsafety with their driving and things of that nature. So you want to be mindful of it and, of course, supervise it, monitor it. But again, you don't want to take away everything from them at once because that causes so many problems for people.
Mm-hmm. One of the other points here that's listed as a stage of aging is replay. So in that, I guess, repeating the same things over and over or doing the same things, some replay there. Depression is another stage of aging. Withdrawal and acceptance. Sometimes I feel the acceptance now that I'm older. I don't know why. I just, especially when I'm around a younger group of people, do they really accept me, or do they see me the same way? Am I, are they looking at me as mother hen, or am I a part of the group?
Right.
How about you, Tameka?
Typically, I don't really experience that per se when I'm around you. And I think sometimes, Pauline P. Ross, what tends to happen is that we work too hard to try to be accepted by the younger people. I think that in many cases, people, when they're maybe middle age and they're around younger people, hanging out with them for in different spaces, they work so hard to try to be on their level. And to be honest with you, and talking to young people, they don't want that. Like, they want us to act our age, have fun with them, but they want us to stay on our level. They don't want us to try to be them or be like them and all of that. So I find that it's so important that when we're around them, that okay, I'm 45, you 21, so we're different, but at the same time, I can rock with you. We can hang out, but
Right.
there is a difference in our age group. There's a difference in how I was at 21 and what was going on back then in the late 90s at 21 versus what's going on now. So they really, in talking to these young adults, they really want us to be who we are. They really want us to act our age so that they can look up to us as that older counterpart. So that's what I typically do when I'm around them. Of course, we playful and all of that, and being acting normal, but at the same time, I make sure that they know that I'm at a different age. I'm a different generation than you are, and they tend to respect that.
Right. Yeah, I think there's that line sometime that people, the younger and the older folks, there's that line, and I think everybody pretty much understand that line, where you don't lose the level of respect for that older adult that's in the room. At the same time, I mean, I try my best to respect those that are younger than me, especially those that are in leadership and over me. I try my best to respect their positions and who they are. I don't try to throw the, well, I'm older than you, or I'm the senior here, or, I don't do that to them by no means. But, I agree with you on those things. Some triggers for the midlife crisis are these: job loss, health concerns, a parent's death or illness, children moving out, and just day-to-day overwhelm. If you've been listening to us, this is Chat City with P. Ross. I'm your host, P. Ross, and I have the lovely evangelist, social worker Tameka Douglas here with me. We have been discussing dating and aging. We just touched on midlife crisis. If you are in a midlife crisis and want to just share what you've experienced, feel free to call us at 919-899-9305. We're here to listen and hopefully help. When we go through midlife crisis, sometimes it tends to lead to the evaluation of oneself. So we want to encourage you today. This is just a part of life. There's no need to feel bad or sad. I mean, it's just a part of life. And I always say, count it a blessing to see another day. I know it used to be taboo to ask a woman, how old are you? I'm like, ask me how old I am. I like to ask, how old do I look? Because I always try to stay, I'm not going to say looking younger than I am, but just refreshed. And I try to upkeep myself and just look pleasing in the eyes of everyone. And
you do a great job.
Oh, well, thank you.
You do a great job.
Thank you. So I count it a blessing to be here on this earth breathing every day,
Absolutely.
So don't feel down about getting older. Count it a blessing, because some of us do not live long or don't get to, like I said, live long. Live long. Some people die early death.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now let's go into aging parents, Tameka, if you don't mind. I was blessed to have both of my parents until well past their 80s. I just lost one. But I looked at the different stages, and I'm still looking at the different stages and experiencing some things where I'm like, help, they're causing me to tear my hair out a little bit. Love them both dearly and always will. But, and you kind of touched on it early on when we started talking about aging, but help us with some things we should say and shouldn't say to our parents that are aging. I mean, it's almost like the roles are reversed. I feel like I'm the parent now and they are the children, and I'm trying to get them to understand. I'm just trying to help you. Help me with that.
Do you mean when as it relates to their life in general?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So but depending on the situation, whether you, again, I think respect plays a huge part in this, whether it is you're concerned about something in terms of their health care, for instance, not saying to them, look, you need to do this because you're 70 or you're 80 or, you have, high blood pressure, you have this going on. So being respectful of them as an individual, but yet honest and saying it in a loving manner. I think that plays a huge part. So it's going to vary depending on the situation and what you're talking to them about. Now, in those situations, we have to hold those conversations that many don't like to hold about, okay, what is your living will going to look like? What is it that you want in terms of your health care? What does that look like? What decisions do you want us to make as it relates to your health if this should happen? So giving them an opportunity to express themselves and give us what their desires are, I think is so important.
I like that when you say giving them an opportunity to express themselves, because I know some of the feedback, I guess, on our end, we're so anxious to get them to where we feel they should be. But the feedback we get from them, or I have experienced, is I'm the parent, and I'm like, what do you do? And I've heard others get frustrated or express frustration when they're only trying to assist and help their parents, so like you said, as a tip, I think that's pretty good. Decide what's most important for them and then try to help them to see, that's all we're trying to do is get you to where you should be.
And I think having those conversations as early as possible, it just helps. And again, everybody's different. The personality kind of kicks in, when they age and all of that. One of the things I see in being around individuals who have Alzheimer's or dementia is how that personality kind of kicks into certain behaviors that they may exhibit. And so you might see a person that's feisty, or they, can be very rather defensive in their approach. So you'll see that kind of comes out even in that memory impairment. So I know that sometimes it can be difficult when you do, because the roles do kind of reverse based on what's taking place with them. So I just think those conversations as early as possible are just great as it relates to what they want and what needs to happen. And then it comes to a point in time where you have to make the decision as the child. So
now I wonder how early is possible should start. I mean, what age should we start? Is it 55 or 62 or what?
I think a good time, depending on what's going on with them, if they have like an array of health related issues, then you may have to start a little earlier. You may need to start in those 60s, mid 60s, early 70s. So I think it kind of varies with different people based upon what's taking place. But then you have some situations where things just happen. It happens abruptly and we don't see it coming. So I just think even if, we on family vacation, at dinner, just kind of talking through that stuff. And we don't tend to like to do that as individuals. We don't like to have those conversations about what's your desire if something should happen. What do you want me to do with the house? Or what do you want? We just don't tend to have those conversations. I don't know if we feel like if we talk about it, then, it's going to happen and that type thing, but we don't like to have those conversations. So I think even it's not never too early to start the conversation. I think better late than ever, of course, it's always better late than never. It's always good, but I don't think it's too early to ever have those conversations, because at least you'll know down the road what the expectation is or what the desire is for that individual.
Yes. Now, something to help those that are somewhat frustrated and to help you cope with aging parents. Try to understand their abnormal behavior, what we may identify as abnormal behavior. Just understand that they are probably going, having still some effects from the midlife crisis, and things are new for them now. They may not be as keen on the latest technology of things and the changing of the times and of the world and all that kind of stuff. So just try to have some understanding towards their what we may consider abnormal behavior. Find an outlet for your stress. Find an outlet for your stress. Get that break. Get get out of the house, go hang out with friends or whatever, especially if you're living with your parents, or living with a parent. You know, you need to do that. You also might want to try to set some boundaries with them, and you know your limitations, so you don't want to make it uneasy and uncomfortable for them in their setting. Yeah. You know, especially when you're going to their home or whatever. You know, also limit your involvement in caregiving. There are a lot of caregivers out there that are willing to step up to the plate and assist you where you may be frustrated, exhausted, or just don't know how to do it or don't want to do it. You know, just don't leave them there hanging, your parents, your aging parents. Find a personal caregiver for them. Or there's, like I said, plenty of facilities out there that are willing to bring someone in and assist you with that. And then, too, plan ahead. That's what Ms. Douglas mentioned earlier. There are some aging, there are some programs out there for those that are aging. So maybe Google those and see what's out there. Tameka, what should we do if we do suspect Alzheimer's or dementia from a parent?
Yeah, you want to certainly monitor it if you're suspecting it, and I would say get them tested, make their medical practitioner aware of what you're observing, and their evaluations and testing that they can do before making the formal diagnosis. So certainly, if you're seeing some memory impairment early on, you want to be mindful of it, observe it, and then make their medical practitioner aware of what you're seeing, and there's testing that they can do for them. But it's not something that you just kind of let go on. We see there are times where people just kind of let it go on and on, because as children and as loved ones, we're sometimes in denial. We see it and we don't see it, or we don't want to accept it. So it's not something you want to just let linger on, or just say, we're just going to let it ride, or we just make sure, that we go by the house and check on mom or dad and that type of thing. You want to certainly make sure that you address it if you see it, because it can really be some devastating things that can happen, especially if the person doesn't have a whole lot of support. They live alone. They're doing a lot of driving and things of that nature. You want to monitor it and make sure that you address it.
Now, there are a lot of people out there, con artists, and just people that are taking advantage of elderly. What can we do to prevent this?
Communication, making sure that and it happens. Even when the whole sweepstakes thing was going on, they were getting so many, our poor elderly folks who were just sending all kind of money, buying stuff. And it still happens where we have because they're getting calls. You have people that are calling their homes and saying, okay, I'm calling from Social Security Administration, making them aware that Social Security Administration is not going to call your house. They're going to send you a letter to your home. So don't give away your Social Security number over the phone. Don't give away your personal information. So literally telling your loved one what's out there, what's happening online. A lot of our elderly people, they have their little laptops and tablets and phones, and they are on social media and on the internet. So making them aware that, listen, we have hackers out there. If you don't know this person, don't accept their friendship. Don't accept them as a friend. Don't give them your personal information. Don't tell them where they are. So communicating it. And we have to sometimes, especially if we know they're a certain age and we've been kind of sensing some memory lapses and delays and things like that, then we may have to be the one to get in there and look at things and make sure that we're kind of doing our investigating in the matter to see what's going on, because a lot of them are being taken advantage of.
I want to give you a house applause on that one, because I want to encourage people that have aging parents or older parents who live alone, or don't let you got to be, you remember how you are, or what you do when you're checking on that child to make sure that, I don't know, like you're kind of going through their things and you're like, this is my house. I can go through your things if I want or whatever. It's kind of challenging when you're doing that with a parent, but make sure you know what is going on with their finances. If there's some kind of way you could, I don't know if I should say this, but if you could peek at what's going on with their finances to make sure everything is okay, or get them some kind of way to get you on their accounts some kind of way, just to make sure that nobody is, like I said, taking advantage of them, because it could be somebody close to you. It don't have to be a stranger.
Yeah.
It could be another family member that is
it happens,
wringing that person dry of their earnings and their savings and that type of thing. Moving right along, what seniors need most. Sometimes we don't know or acknowledge that seniors, things change, their bodies change, and like Miss Douglas mentioned earlier, for health reasons, seniors may need things like seat risers for their toilets, because they can't bend like they used to when it comes to toilet seats, and grab bars. They may need them in their bathrooms and their bedrooms, stepless showers, waterproof mattresses, incontinence, that happens a lot to aging folks, and adequate lighting so that they could see properly and see better, because of the eyesight. The eyesight may not be as good or strong as it used to be. Also, we want to mention companionship for our elderly, welfare checks, and social events and peer groups for those that are aging. What do you think about those, Tameka? Am I on the right track with that?
Yeah, you are on it. You are on it. I think it's so important that they have that social involvement. A lot of our elderly individuals, when they're not involved, they retire, or they don't have involvement in the community, or they're not connected to perhaps a church. Loved ones aren't nearby. They can continue. They can tend to become isolated, and we see that elderly individuals who deal with depression because they don't have that outlet. So any of your adult daycare centers, your senior centers, the YMCA, all of those places have activities throughout the day, and it's good. Even if they don't want to go Monday through Friday, 2 or 3 days a week will do them just so good to have that outlet and involvement. So it's so important, and I think it helps them to live. It helps them to have something to look forward to. If they can say, oh, well, if the weekend was kind of bored, but on Tuesday I'm going to my day program, or I'm going to the senior center to play pickleball, or to play bridge, or whatever they desire to do. So that's so important.
And here's another important thing too: make sure that they're eating.
Yeah.
They may not can cook that meal or fix themselves lunch or dinner like they used to back in the day. I think as they get older, they don't eat as much, but just make sure they have a hot meal, or they're eating, and they're well nourished. Okay. All right. We're coming to the close of this show. We did mention that we were going to talk about Black History Month, and I mentioned that earlier on in the month that I would spotlight someone who's made an impact in the world as far as African American. I don't have anybody to spotlight today, but I'm going to say this for Black History Month. Something I would like to see African Americans do, and I am African American, so I'm speaking to myself as well. All right. So something I would like to see us do is stop the black on black crime. Yeah. Let's just eliminate that altogether if we can. Work on improving our finances and wealth. Become more responsible citizens, and perhaps visit a museum or a park that magnify Black culture, and history, such as the King Center in Atlanta, Georgia, or the International Civil Rights Center and Museum in Greensboro here in North Carolina. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. Evangelist, glad you're here with me again today.
My pleasure.
We're going to be back next week at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, our new time, Chat City with P. Ross. If you want to be a guest on the show, feel free to contact me at WHISK Entertainment1@hotmail.com. We'll see if we can get you on here, okay? Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the week.
Good night.
Community Radio, WRLYLP.